That's right. Our guest on Just Talking is CCS contributors and host of Sports Matters. We have Kevin Drake and Matt Burt joining us to discuss all things sports. So, boys, how's it going?
It's going great. It's a pleasure to be back on the show. Hello, Marissa. How have you been?
I am fabulous, as usual.
Excellent.
Well, it's funny. It's October 2nd. I don't think a lot of people were anticipating this much sports, in our world today. And we might as well get right on into it because there's a lot of exciting things happening. And my first question for both of you guys today is, it's been 10 years since the Los Angeles Lakers, got to rock that swingman jersey today, 10 years since the Los Angeles Lakers have been to the NBA Finals. If the Lakers lose to LeBron James's old team, the Miami Heat, how will this affect his legacy?
It won't affect his legacy at all.
Really?
No. I mean, this will be his 10th NBA Finals. I mean, LeBron's going to go down as one of the greats to play the game, and he's definitely the best player of this era. But I don't see it hurting his legacy. But, Matt, do you want to take the reins on this?
Yeah,
what's
how does
the reality
Matt feel about this?
What's the reality? No,
because flat with this answer.
No, Matt's going to give you the reality of this series.
Oh,
so please, Matt, enlighten us.
All right, Matt,
well,
what you got?
Here's the numbers. He's done an incredible job of getting to the finals, actually a historic job of getting to the finals. I believe since the year 2010 when he first joined the Miami Heat, LeBron has been to the finals every year but last year. So it's a pretty incredible feat regardless. But in all those finals, he's 3-7. So he's got to win this one to cement the legacy of.
Or 3-9, you
player.
mean? Because if this is his 10th appearance.
Yeah, 3-9. But
yeah,
he had
3-9
before.
But I guess what I could throw to you guys is LeBron James is one of 4 players all time with 10 finals appearances. That's pretty remarkable. And this is the 3rd time LeBron James's team has been favored entering the finals, which is kind of remarkable because, he's only been favored 3 times with his team. I mean, how bad will this look? Because everybody's saying that this is the year. I mean, Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I mean, really, Kevin? I mean, you really think that this isn't going to create this whole debacle with the GOAT conversation with LeBron James and Michael Jordan if he loses with this arsenal of a team known as the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, that's the thing.
Lakers? Where I was trying to get at earlier with the reality of it, I know Matt did bring up a really good point, but there's just no way that the Miami Heat, the style, how that team's constructed is it's kind of like a bunch of misfits, but very, very good players. They all came together and they're playing incredible team basketball. They lead the NBA and the most points off of cuts to the basket, So that's some serious motion offense. And Adebayo has done a pretty good job with the team. But
who?
Did I say it right?
Just say Bam. Just say Bam.
Just say Bam, okay?
Bam Adebayo. Just say Bam.
Always
Adebayo. Yeah, that's what I just said it real fast. But
so his mom, Bam's mom, has a sign in the arena because they can now have family in the arena, which is awesome. It says, "Mama Bam." So I want to give a shout out to that. I thought that was really funny to see.
No, that's cool. But, I mean, you also saw Bam. You also saw Gorgic. You also saw Jimmy Butler. They all sort of got a little tweaks in on Game 1. I mean, obviously with Game 2's tonight. But seeing what happened on Game 1, that's why I think it's going to harness the Lakers a little bit because they're not the same team like they've been playing the last 3 opponents in the playoffs. I mean, they're looking hurt. You know what I'm saying? This is going to look devastating, in my opinion, for the Los Angeles Lakers. And who knows? Do you think they're going to do another internal turnaround with management behind the scenes, kind of like what the Los Angeles Clippers shockingly did with Doc Rivers just 2 days ago? I mean, what are you guys' thoughts?
I think it's a good move for Doc Rivers to be in Philadelphia. He definitely needed a fresh start. But the Clippers organization seems to be more of a mess as things start to unravel. I mean, you don't know what to believe, but, Kawhi Leonard's camp is upset with Paul George and Montrezl Harrell. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll
being
see.
referred to as a double agent, so I don't know what's going on.
It's going to be an atom bomb, Kevin and Matt. If Los Angeles Lakers lose, we got the Clippers who just devastated us, and if the Los Angeles Lakers lose with LeBron, it's going to be crazy.
I want to do some betting this show. So
Let's do
it. $5. Okay, so I have $5 on the Lakers winning against
Okay.
the Heat. So what do you guys got?
Well, I mean, everybody's going to say the Lakers. I
Well,
mean,
I
what
don't
game
know.
do you
I
think they're
don't
going to pull it
know.
off?
Okay,
I
yeah.
think it's going to be
What
a
about you,
4-game
Kevin?
sweep. Lakers.
How many?
4-game sweep.
Whoa,
4 games in a row.
Really?
And Miami Heat's not going to win one game. Not even
All
close.
right.
I originally thought it was going to be the big man conference.
I
that's
think
my
Miami,
bet. What about
Miami
you,
will
Matt?
get
What
one
game?
game.
What do you
Miami
think
will
it's going to
get
end?
one game. They'll
Yeah,
get
I
one
say
game.
Okay, so you're
Lakers in
saying
5.
5 games. 5 games.
Yeah.
But the
Matt?
Lakers win.
What about you, Matt?
Heat and 7.
Heat and
I'm kidding,
7
no.
stop playing.
I'm kidding.
Matt,
I'm
hey,
kidding.
Matt's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be Lakers
paying,
at
Matt's
4.
gonna be paying
Lakers
up
at
a lot
4.
of money
Okay.
here.
What about
It
you,
It's
Kevin?
will
gonna be
be
Lakers
a
in
Heat
4.
in 7th. Lakers don't finish it out in 5.
Yeah, that's
Ooh,
true.
okay, not really a bet, but hey, well, we
No.
got to move on. We got tons of stuff in sports, but I wanted to ask you guys this because in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans have closed their facility until Saturday after 9 positive tests of COVID-19. And Matt, let me direct this question towards you first because can players trust the league's protocols with COVID-19 when the NFL for years has suppressed health concerns such as CTE?
The short answer is hell no. Like in that, there's no way because the NFL has taken the wrong approach to this and not listening to the CDC and the recommendations of the big doctors who know this kind of stuff. And they opted to not play in a bubble, which is the preferred destination, which is why we saw this in the MLB, which is why we're seeing it in college football, which is why we're seeing, the NBA have success and the NHL have success and 0 positive results. So if you're looking at it from the perspective of has the NFL done a good job of managing COVID, they put all the resources into different areas that have not really prevented an outbreak like this. So now that they're starting to cancel games, we're going to start seeing more teams in more areas have these kind of effects. And honestly, I kind of saw this coming, and I'm sure you did too. I'm sure everyone here, where you sat here the last time we came on, we were like, it's going to happen.
It's
the
gonna
NFL
happen.
has not done a good job. That kind of thing.
Well, let me ask you this because you were talking about the NBA bubble, and I guess I'll throw this at both of you gentlemen because I think, obviously with the NBA, it's a 15-man roster. NFL, it's 53-man roster and all the personnel behind the scenes. Would that really work for the NFL? I mean, just to be, locked down with, 32 teams in one destination. I mean, how many hotels are in that Disney area? I have no idea. Would it work? I mean, I have no idea.
Really, what it comes down to is I think the NFL is really taking the coronavirus and the testing and the safety serious, but are the teams taking it serious? Because I've watched several Sunday Night Football games seeing Coach John Gruden not wearing his mask,
right.
Sean Payton not wearing his mask, even Sean McVay wasn't wearing his mask.
And you know what? Why should they?
Yeah.
No. I'm going to jump in on this one.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty heated about this, okay? Because just like a player, a coach is running up and down the field. They are trying to communicate. They have to be on their best A game. And we all know from
That's a
wearing
good
masks
point.
that we are not on our A game.
Wait a minute,
So
that's a good point she's making.
Yeah, the coaches should also be exempt. Just the coaches who are up there. Once they're off on the line, sitting down, any of that stuff, then yes, they have the mask. Garrett actually came through. He had his mask down below. And he had said, hey, look, I'm trying to wear it. It actually hinders the ability of the coach. And the coach is needed on that field, just like the player.
Their voice needs to
Marissa.
carry because they need to.
Sorry, I get heated. I'm like, oh.
Marissa, what about those bubble? Have you seen the bubble visors they've been wearing?
Yes,
What do you
and
think
they can
about
wear
those?
that. Why not wear that? That is, but
It still blocks sound.
But they will not let them wear. They won't let them.
You guys are smoking crack. I mean, it would have been a different story. No, literally, it would have been a different story. Like, I would have been all with you guys if you said, why are the coaches not wearing masks? If they're getting tested just like the players, don't you think they have a right to be on the field and not wear a mask?
That's what I'm
then
saying.
I would have been with you. But
if they all are tested negative.
Hold up. But you two, Marissa and Kevin, just now both said they can't wear the mask because they can't communicate with their players wearing it.
No,
really, I'm with Matt when he says you can wear a face shield.
No, Chris. I didn't say they can't communicate. I said it hinders our natural ability of communicating. And when you're in the heat of a moment and you're playing through there and you're used to communicating a certain way and getting it across, then yeah, I think the coaches shouldn't wear. And I think the face.
Oh, stop playing, Marissa. Oh.
Nope.
How about this?
Okay, the coaches in the NBA aren't wearing masks.
That's what my point was. Is like, how about this? Okay, if the NFL, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, did a bubble or created a bubble system in multiple locations where they could control the teams that were playing and control the players, then they wouldn't have to be worrying about whether or not the coaches are wearing a mask because the NBA bubble has no mask. So it's like they're paying their commissioner $44 million to make these kind of decisions, and they don't pay me any, and I just came up with a better solution than what they're doing.
It's so true. And I think that's a fair point, to argue about, because, you're right. I mean, the NBA bubble, coaches aren't wearing, the mask, but that's because they're in that kind of environment. NFL, they're constantly traveling. We'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks because it's only week 3 with the NFL, so we'll see what's up. But I know for the Los Angeles Dodgers, there's some exciting things because I know they entered into the playoffs on an incredible record. I mean, the Dodgers lost 1 of the 20 series on their 60-game regular season schedule, and they had the most runs scored, second fewest runs allowed, highest winning percentage by any team since 1954, and an 8th consecutive National League West title. And so my question for you, Kevin, is it time to move on from the Dodgers manager Dave Roberts if the MLB team loses again in the World Series?
After he wins the World Series,
if he loses again,
the performance I saw last night with Clayton Kershaw going 8 innings, looking vintage Kershaw, 13 strikeouts, no runs given up. Like you just said, you gave the 2 most important numbers. They have the best offense. They have the second best pitching in the majors, and that's what wins you championships. So you're right. I mean, if the Dodgers do collapse and don't win it this year, it could put Dave Roberts on the hot seat.
I guess I'll throw this at Matt, because, some people would compare, Dave Roberts and Doc Rivers as kind of being the same individuals. They had the same amount of time with the same team to make something happen. But I would argue with Dave Roberts is he had a cheating scandal he had to deal with, and does he kind of have some leverage to not feel as much pressure as someone per se, Doc Rivers, who had, even the 3-man, Lob City at one point, couldn't make anything happen. They have everything here. What will happen to the future of the Los Angeles Dodgers if they can't pull it off this year?
I think that's a little bit of an unfair comparison because I think Doc Rivers is a worse coach than Dave Roberts. At least Dave Roberts got them to the World Series. They haven't gotten past the second round. Doc hasn't gotten past the second round.
That's a fair point.
So I think that the Dodgers are a really good baseball team. They're the best baseball team, but generally speaking, the best team doesn't always win. As opposed to the NBA, the best team always wins.
Well,
it's just how it works out. So
the Dodgers were cheated out of a World Series too.
Well,
right.
Like that's beside the point. Like they still have to look because that was one World Series that they were proven. And then obviously the Red Sox won, and then the Nationals beat them that one year last year. So it's not like, we can all point it at the cheating scandal because yes, obviously that was a very hard thing to see in the MLB, but at the same time, you have to look at it from the biggest perspective is they haven't gotten what they needed to do, and it's hard to win. So I think the Dodgers this year are set up to win this year as they were in previous years. The only way I see Dave Roberts being out is if he loses to the Astros in the World Series.
Isn't that the truth? Like, there's no excuse at that point. If you lose again, I mean, even when you know how they cheat and you lose still, I don't know if I have any sympathy, even though I'm a Los Angeles cat. I'm still going to be upset.
May I remind you who's managing the Astros right now is Dusty Baker. So,
and
Dave
for any of the
Roberts should
listeners,
win the World Series.
And for the listeners who don't know Dustin Baker, where would he originate from?
Giants, Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds,
animal.
Washington Nationals. They've all had playoff collapses.
That's insane. I mean, well, we've been so lucky. We've had the baseball, we've had the basketball. I know NHL just wrapped up, but there was something quite interesting that was said on last Wednesday's presidential debate, the first presidential debate with President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. And Donald Trump said the following last Wednesday. I'm the one who brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. So is it fair to say that President Trump influenced the return of college sports? Matt, we'll go with you.
Well, didn't he just test positive for coronavirus? COVID-19.
That's right. Last night.
COVID-19. Last night he did. So he probably didn't do much. He probably didn't have much of an influence. To be honest, I'm just like they're going to make the decision based off of what the schools need rather than what President Trump says, because he really has no effect over the collegiate athlete landscape. And I think that they started to see how games were being played, and I think they felt like if we don't join in, we're going to get left out. And now you see the Pac-12 playing an 8-game schedule, and they've had to go through a whole bunch. And so, it's been a bumpy road for us to get to college football, and it's still pretty bumpy. We're not out of the woods yet. But
it did seem like, I guess I'll throw this at Kevin, because it did seem like a lot of student athletes did want, higher administrations to speak up and say, hey, look, we understand that, school on campus is not in effect, but there's not so many people on campus now. I think if we had all the right testing protocols, we can make college sports happen. And I don't know if I'd say the sole proprietor is Donald Trump, because, wasn't there that quarterback who started that petition? I mean, don't you guys remember the college
players want to play.
Fields.
You're right. The students want to play.
Yeah. But I definitely feel like some of that pressure came from Trump. What do you think, Marissa?
Here's my thing on it. Whether Trump actually got football going or not doesn't matter. What matters is he's telling the people in the areas, the Midwest, that live and die for football, that he is the one that got it going, not his opponent Biden, not the Democrats, and people are listening to that. So whether he did or not, I hear Trump was actually really smart. He took the credit, which is some things he does.
And that's interesting. I know with Kevin and Matt, you guys don't talk about politics too much, but I think this is kind of fair to kind of ask this with you guys, because I think Marissa's bringing a good point. Would this swing voters in the Midwest states? Because, some of these conferences, you look at it, some of the pivotal states are Pennsylvania, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Wisconsin. Do you think that will play a factor in November?
It probably will play a factor in people who don't really pay attention to politics. But this, regardless of the, what ends up happening with this election, I just think the next debate that they need to have needs to be over Zoom, so that we can just mute the other candidate, because that was terrible to watch.
It was one of the worst debates I've ever witnessed. It's like if there were swing voters on both sides, they probably all went to the other side, so that nothing really got accomplished.
I think the fair question that Chris Wallace could have asked would have been a sports question, and he could have asked Joe Biden and Donald Trump this: if you had the ball on 4th and 1, do you punt it or do you go for it?
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's the fair question. And then we probably could have gotten some results from both candidates. But,
well, I think regardless, like the outcome has already been decided with more, like the middle ground is not as big as we think. I think people are either on one side or the other.
Yes.
Nothing much is going to change because of that.
We don't need another debate. We don't. No,
I'm with Marissa.
We don't need one.
Marissa.
I think most people by now know who they're voting for. But, hey, we've always had 3 presidential debates before, and we're going to have 2 more. So we'll see what's up.
No, we're not. He's positive with COVID. It might be Pence.
It's going to be over Zoom.
Might be on Zoom.
It really might be Pence. You never know.
But you know what? This is a crazy debate that I heard. And this was on Joe Rogan's show this week. It was kind of funny because they were talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul fight, right? And my first question with you guys is, and I'll throw this at Kevin, don't you kind of think this is a little insulting for the boxing community to see that, this superstar like Floyd Mayweather is pissing his career away by fighting like a loser, a YouTube star who got his ass kicked by KSI, by the way, another YouTuber. Doesn't this, how do you expect boxing to elevate in the next decade when MMA is kind of taken over?
I think that's more Floyd Mayweather. He always ducked really good competition because he wants to keep that perfect record of his. And so now the fights that he does,
it's so true.
He's not fighting really good, tough fighters. He got Triple G when he was just young, an up-and-comer where he could still take advantage of him.
Marissa, could you prepare this clip for us from the Joe Rogan show? Because I'm not even going to say anything. I just want you guys to hear what Joe Rogan says after this conversation about Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather.
You can make an argument who the greatest boxer of all time is, but you better have Floyd Mayweather in that argument.
He's going to be in there.
He's in that argument.
And probably if you're holding a microphone, you probably weren't ever going to kick his ass.
No.
What's up with the Mayweather fighting Logan Paul? You seen this?
Yes,
I'm sure.
yes. Well, Logan Paul
I got
wants to make
Logan
some
Paul
money
in that fight.
Well, one thing I will tell you, Logan Paul is a really good athlete, and he's an enormous man. Now, if it was an MMA fight, I would pick Logan Paul. Paul.
Face already, so we'll throw this at him. You heard it. Joe Rogan just said Logan Paul could beat Floyd Mayweather in an MMA fight. Matt, do you agree with this notion?
Nah, no way that happens.
Agreed.
There's not a chance. Floyd Mayweather is a far superior athlete to Logan Paul, and it's just like the whole notion of celebrities fighting former boxers because they think they're tough. Like I saw KSI wants to fight Tyson. Let me just put the PSA out there. Don't do that. You're going to get hurt.
Tyson's going to annihilate. Mayweather's going to annihilate 100%. Agreed.
But I'm curious on what Kevin thinks because I see his head kind of contorting, and I feel like he's going to shock some of us. What are you thinking right now, Kevin?
Well, I mean, I agree. Mayweather has the greatest feet. He's the best defensive fighter out there. So, yeah, he's definitely one of the greats. So when it comes to actual brawling, he just doesn't get up there and brawl. But as far
what are you saying? What are you saying?
Oh, he'll destroy Logan Paul.
Okay, in an MMA fight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we all saw fight too.
Paul Acosta. We all saw him fight Israel, and Israel just stood on his feet the whole time and just obliterated him. So you don't have to tussle on the ground to fight MMA. You could stand there and square up and still get your ass kicked. And anybody who really thinks that, you're crazy. You're mental, and you're ruining boxing for good.
No, what I want to see is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor MMA.
I'm sorry. Can Conor McGregor go away?
He is fighting Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao is going to fight Conor to get some COVID-19 relief for his country in the Philippines. So that's kind of cool. But I think Logan Paul, that's a different story.
But I'm tired of all these washed boxers and celebrities fighting. Can we move past this? Like, can we talk about Fury
let's get some really good fighters. Who are the up-and-comers?
Let's get Anthony, what's his name? Anthony from the
Anthony Joshua.
Yep. Anthony Joshua. Thank you. AJ.
Yep.
I was going to call him AJ, but I didn't think anyone would know who I'm talking about.
And that works too. But I know we got like a few minutes left, and I wanted to touch this with you guys because I thought this was sort of interesting. The San Diego Loyals, they walked off the field in protest Wednesday night saying that a Phoenix Rising player used an anti-gay slur directed at an openly gay midfielder named Colin Martin. So manager Landon Donovan, who used to be an ex-player for the Galaxy, discussed the incident with the referee and the Phoenix head coach, Rick Schnatz. So let's check that video out right now.
I misunderstood because he's accusing the other guy of calling him gay. I heard that word, and I sent it. I don't act dumb. You know what that means. I don't understand.
Rick, what's his problem? Rick, this is beyond. This is
guys,
what Junior did last week. Okay, so like, this is beyond soccer.
Guys, this is what's going on.
It's not racism. They're competing. It's homophobia. How long have you been playing soccer?
Guys, listen. This is what's gonna happen. The red card is rescinded. I didn't understand what your player said to him. They took offense to it, and I heard him use the word gay. I heard him.
He called him gay. He called Colin gay.
As a result, the game will continue.
We're gonna talk about what we're gonna do. This just literally happened a week ago.
Okay.
Homophobia, racism.
Right. Guys, he said, listen, he said something in a language that I don't understand.
I know exactly what I can Google it for you. Then okay. Make him means gay. Means gay.
I don't understand what that means.
Gay. Okay? I'm telling you what it means. Okay. It means gay.
Okay. I didn't hear that.
We're gonna decide what we're gonna do.
Okay.
If you don't send him off, it's probably not.
Hey, did you get a red card to our player?
So as you see with the video, my first question was, when did bitch boy become an anti-gay slur? Matt shaking his head right away. What's going on?
No, he did not say that. He said a Jamaican slur. So that's what people think because it blurred out. It had all the stars, but that's not what they said. It's a Jamaican slur. I'm not going to say it because
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's a slur that has to do with a song called I can't remember it. It's like Bam Boom Bam. Anyway,
okay.
But you can go ahead and look up the term. It's a Jamaican gay slur. It was not what it meant. So
is Colin Martin an African American? Yes. Okay.
No,
I'm not sure. That's why I'm not sure.
But he is gay. He is gay.
So how? I guess my question was with kind of how the referee is in that video. He's kind of like, dude, I don't even know the reference of the gay slang being called a bitch boy. It's just like being called a mother effer. It's like, are you trying to, screw my mom? Are you trying to have sex with my mom? I mean, I kind of felt like that's where.
I looked up what it was. So instead of it being bitch, it's batty.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. It's
well, I'm not using the whole term together, right? I'm not using it all together. But
I don't know if I can cuss on this.
It references anal sex.
Yes.
So, I mean, that is. So I had no idea about.
But I guess the real question, I wish we could have more time to discuss it because we just wrapped up on the segment. But I guess my argument with the referee is it's like, how is he supposed to know the sexuality of every player? Yeah, he can probably bring it down. My thing is, if he actually was trying to take out the player's leg and trying to put physical harm on him while throwing out slang, now we got a big problem with it. But I wish I could debate it with you guys.
I'll just end it here.
Yeah.
Okay, he is openly gay. People know about it in the soccer community. This is minor league soccer. You get terrible refs. He's a terrible ref.
Absolutely. Hey,
and I do agree that homophobic or racial slurs or any type of stuff does not belong on the field of playing, period.
Absolutely.
Anywhere.
Marissa.
Just bring
it along anywhere.
Everybody's going to go jump on Call of Duty lobby now. The worst group of them. You know what I'm talking about. But I want to thank you guys again for joining Just Talking. And this is Kevin Drake and Matt Burt. They got a phenomenal show they do Tuesday mornings all the time on KUCI's 89.9. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And you guys discuss all things sports. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Chris.